All right, well, after all of the news lately about Tesla opening up their supercharging network to non-Tesla EVs, it looks like that day is finally here, and we are starting to see some of the first select superchargers getting opened up to non-Tesla EVs. So stick with me and we'll get into it. So I started exploring what the supercharging stations that Tesla is first opening up to non-Tesla EVs are, and I realized that one is actually in Malta, New York, which is where we were less than 2 weeks ago on our road trip up to Stowe for our ski trip, and actually did a video there talking about what it was going to look like when Tesla opened up the superchargers to non-Tesla EVs without realizing that that was a station that was going to be part of it. And I actually think that in the video that I took, you can see part of the Magic Dock. It looked like they were maybe actually installing it while I was there. That's with the service vans that were sitting there taking some of the spots up that while we were charging might have been. And so I wanted to show this off a little bit and talk about what it's looking like now that things are starting to roll out. All right, well, we are here at the Tesla Supercharger in Malta, New York, which is a V3 250 kilowatt supercharger. We're juicing up the Model Y here, and another Model Y that just pulled in, and we're here at a Stewart's shop. So for anyone who missed this, essentially Tesla and the White House recently announced that as part of the infrastructure expansion of charging networks for electric vehicles, that Tesla was actually going to start opening up some of their superchargers to non-Tesla EVs so that they would be eligible for the incentives that are part of the big bill. And they said that they would be opening up 7,500 of them over the next, well, through the end of 2024. Some of that included destination chargers, which we can actually see some of now, and some of that was superchargers. And so it wasn't really clear, how much of this was going to be retrofits and how much of it would just be new installs, but it looks like they are potentially doing a combination of both, where they are retrofitting, but it tends to be some of the newer V3 stalls that are somewhat newer. And it looks like they'll probably be installing these in more places as time goes on. Right now, for at least we can see most of them, I think it's actually 8 out of the 10 or so that are open right now, are all kind of stretched across sort of a belt going west to east in upstate New York, which makes sense because Tesla manufactures their superchargers and a lot of their production is actually in upstate New York. So you can see the build out looked like it was starting to happen out around sort of the Utica area, and then expanded east a little bit and is now kind of in the Hudson Valley heading up to Albany, over in Brewster, New York. They've already done actually a great video. Out of Spec Dave from Out of Spec Reviews did a video charging his Genesis EV there. But what I thought was really interesting was that while none of these are super close to us, I think that Brewster one is actually the closest and it's an hour and a half away. We can actually now see all of the ones that are opening up through Tesla's app itself. So let me show you that. All right, so here in the Tesla app, you can actually see here now in your account or profile, I don't know, whatever view this is when you go to your name. If you scroll all the way here to the right, you can see this option for charger non-Tesla. And if you go in there, you will actually see a map of all of them. And if I zoom out here, you can see several of them up here in New York. So like I mentioned, kind of starting up and around Syracuse, Utica, out to, that's Malta up there north of Albany. Then we've got Hancock, New York, kind of in the middle there, Red Hook, New York, right along the Hudson, and then Brewster, New York, which I think is the closest to us. But another thing I thought was interesting was you actually see a few destination chargers now starting to appear. So out here in Manhattan, there's a wall connector at 10 Hudson Yards, which is actually right near where my office is going to be. So might have to check that out. We'll see. Wall connectors. I'm not sure what that actually means, but that's interesting. And then another one that I'm actually familiar with is, where is it? There it is. Here in Newark at the Robert Treat Hotel, there are 7 of 8 wall connectors. I think these are destination chargers available. So maybe they're just calling destination chargers wall connectors. But that's another one I might have to go check out and see, how that works. All right, but then of the ones that we actually visited on our way up to Stowe, you've got this one up here. Where is it? up here in Malta, which I thought was an interesting one because it seemed like it was fairly new. I didn't really remember it being there. I don't know exactly when it was installed, but I think we could actually probably see that in like Google Maps or something. But it was a nice install there at a Stewart's gas station, and nice fast 250 kilowatt one. I didn't have any issues with crowding or anything there. I got there as the first car there, and one spot was being blocked by a electrician service van, which I thought was interesting, but they were just sitting in the van, not doing anything. And then it filled up quite a bit as we were sitting there charging. But I wonder now, kind of in retrospect, if that electric van there was actually there to either install or test out the Magic Dock connectors that are there now. So you can see that this one is now available for this, and if I go into that, it tells me, find your host number, then choose which port, and basically the way that you unlock this thing is you push up on the charging cable, it'll pull this adapter out, and then you can use that on a CCS car. And so I've got the option here where I can do this on any of the 8 stalls that are there. And you see I'm going to be charged 49 cents per kilowatt hour. There is, let me see if I find it here. There is actually an option in here, that's the same one, that will allow me to buy a membership, and with that it'll actually take down the cost of the kilowatt rate to by 10 cents. So I'm assuming that they're basically, let's see if we can see different rates here. Assuming they're charging different rates at different ones of these, just like they do for Teslas, depending on kind of availability, local pricing, and how busy it is. Seems like it's the same, 49 cents there. Where's our other one here? Yeah. 49 cents there. So it seems like maybe they're just doing 49 cents everywhere right now, although that could also just be what it is kind of throughout New York. So it's hard to tell since other stuff's not open yet in other states, but let's see, does this one tell us? 29 cents at the Robert Treat Hotel. So anyway, I think that's interesting that you can also buy a membership and it'll actually bring the rate down. But what's interesting about that rate is it's actually more expensive than Electrify America. And so, if you're looking just for the most cost-effective option right now, you're still better off going to Electrify America or any of the numerous other CCS charge point providers. But having sort of this as a backup extra option in case EA stalls are down or unavailable, or going slowly or something, you can certainly use the Tesla option now, which is great because in general I found it at least to be much more reliable. Now this of course begs the question of what are things going to actually look like as more and more non-Teslas go to these superchargers. I'm sure we're going to start to see much higher demand. I think this pricing at least is cheap enough that people are probably going to start actually going to Tesla ones over some of the others, just knowing the reliability. And so, I wonder, will they end up increasing the prices to try to balance demand or not? And how are they going to deal with, the lines that are going to occur there? And then another big problem is that Tesla charging stations have all been designed specifically for Teslas. So that means the way that the parking spots are arranged, where the stalls are, and especially the length of the cables are really optimized only to fit in Teslas, which are right at the very rear left side of the car. And any other car is going to have a hard time, I think, getting the cable to reach their charging port. I saw that the Genesis, it's on the other side, so that basically means you need to park in another spot and use the cable from like the next one over, which is probably going to cause some problems. But that's not even the worst case scenario. I think worst case is some of the much bigger EVs like the Lightning or Rivian R1T pickup trucks. The charging point on those is still at the front, but those fronts are so long that where the port is means that I don't think the cable's actually going to reach, even if you're parked front in. I think those cars are going to have to park like diagonally or even sideways against the chargers, and they're probably going to end up blocking more than one. So that's going to be a problem for a lot of people too, and I think people are just not going to be very happy about that, especially Tesla owners that have gotten used to the way of having convenience at Tesla chargers. So it's early days, and I think that this is overall a good thing. It's great to have more options, and I think it's even good to now have these different charging providers like directly competing with each other, so that it gets them to improve and iterate and get better faster. But for now, at least, I think it's going to be a little bit of a rocky start and challenging for people. So if you're out there and you're seeing other non-Teslas at Superchargers, be nice, be patient. People are all just figuring this out. It's going to take some time, and we're going to have to find the ways to make this work best. So we'll have to see if Tesla ends up making any changes on their end as far as like the cable lengths or the way that they're even designing the stations, which there have been some rumors about. But until that happens, I think it's at least an exciting time right now for both Tesla and non-Tesla drivers. So I, for one, welcome the change, and I'm excited to see this expand further and give this a shot. All right, well, with that, let me know what you think about this situation. Is this going to be a good thing for Tesla drivers? Is it going to be a good thing for non-Tesla drivers? Does it benefit everybody? Let me know what your thoughts are below, and I'll get back to you on those. If you enjoy this, please do subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to bring even more kind of Tesla news and EV experiences out to you, so you don't want to miss any of that. And with that, thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.